If you're a fan of delicious chili, there's a small chance you've heard of the Lion Den Bar and Grill in Bakersfield, California, where owner Robert Bryan has been serving up his famous family chili recipe for decades.
Just about done.
Robert's longtime dream has been to sell his chili to the hordes of hungry hockey fans who attend Bakersfield Condors home games at the nearby Rabobank Arena. But so far, he hasn't had much luck.
I did call Rabobank Arena. I asked them, how would I get on your vendor list? Oh, we have our own vendors. You don't have a list. So
I tasted his chili just to make sure it was as good as he said, and it was. The flavors and spices felt awesome against my tongue, and I was stunned that Rabobank Arena turned him away. But fortunately, I had a plan to get him in the door. I have a pretty good handle on the law from, just experiences I've had.
Okay.
And here's the thing, if they never know that you're selling chili, then what's the consequence?
Well, I don't know how I would sell it without their knowledge.
Although it violates the stadium's policy, there's no law against sneaking chili into a hockey game for the purposes of selling it. So if we could make a custom-designed bodysuit that could be filled with a massive payload of chili, Robert would finally be able to sell his signature dish at Rabobank Arena without stadium management ever catching on.
That's interesting. I'm just curious as to what it would look like.
I put a lot of thought into this idea, and every time I run it through in my head, it works perfectly.
Okay.
Robert was on board, so later that week, I hired a professional tailor to help design the chili suit based on a detailed sketch I had drawn.
The easiest way is probably to put the chili in, I guess, from the neck part, right?
Sure. Our plan was to have the chili reservoirs mimic the distribution of fat on a larger man's body, so it wouldn't look suspicious under clothing. And with the help of a guy from Craigslist, our tailor was able to take all the measurements he needed.
The chili is going to go here.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're going to get it more in here too.
Mm-hmm. You could probably do like a cup there, right?
Yeah.
Cup or so?
Yeah, a cup, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so we'll see you around then.
Yeah, thank you so much. And a few days later, we received a completed prototype of the heat-resistant polyvinyl chloride suit designed to hold over 100 servings of fresh chili. The individual reservoirs would be linked by a network of tubes that would all lead to a battery-powered peristaltic pump for dispensing the chili. Using our intake funnel, we loaded in over 30 pounds of Robert's product that had been blended into a thin paste to ensure an even flow without compromising the flavor. So with that, I activated the pump, and it was time to see if this could work. As I had hoped, the pump dispensed the chili at a steady pace, which was good, but I realized we had overlooked a crucial detail. The chili suit prevented bathroom access, and because of its weight, removing it during a game would not be an option. So I experimented with a design that would allow me to deposit my excretions directly into custom rubber underwear connected to a secondary pumping system so I could eject it into a toilet via a second tube down my right arm. But once I had some clothing on, I realized the potential for a costly mix-up was too great. So I had the bottom part of the suit redesigned with strategic holes in the groin and buttocks region that would allow the wearer to relieve him or herself without taking off the suit. But there was still the issue of the temperature. To meet health department standards, Robert said the chili would have to remain above 135 degrees Fahrenheit at all times. But when I put it on, the heat was so intense that I could barely have it against my skin for more than a few seconds. So I tracked down some heat-resistant polymer gel that could insulate the body against the most extreme temperatures.
Feel anything?
No.
Good.
I did a preliminary test with a blowtorch on various parts of my body to ensure the gel would protect even my most sensitive regions. It was finally time to buy a ticket for the next Bakersfield Condors home game. So an hour before puck drop, I headed to the Lion Den to fill up the suit with a fresh batch of chili. I then put on some extra-large clothing that made me look like a typical hockey fan, but was also secretly designed so I could carry everything I would need for our customers. Along with a special pocket built to hold cups and spoons, I also had a cane with a secret trigger that could dispense organic sour cream on demand, a trucker hat with a built-in cheese grater to deliver fresh cheddar cheese, and lastly, a cargo pocket full of chives.
Got a little bit of an aftertaste, but I don't know if it's the chives or the sour cream. It's close.
With everything set and just minutes until game time, I arrived at Rabobank Arena and nervously approached the security checkpoint. Hi, I have a medical condition. This is my pacemaker ID card. Okay. So I have a pacemaker, so it might beep when you do it over my chest area. All right. Okay. Yeah, so that's my pacemaker. Okay.
There you go.
Thank you so much. Getting inside was a huge victory. But for my plan to work, I would need to be able to sell chili for an entire game without getting caught. So I decided to start in the upper levels where security was thinner. Hi there, would you like any fresh chili? No thanks. $2 chili? I faced some rejection at first, but it wasn't long until I had my first sale.
What is it?
It's chili. You want one? As my confidence grew, I ventured down to the lower level, where I got a second sale from a guy in section 109. I used my big body to block the view of security as I covertly squirted out his serving. Here you go, $2, please. There you go, sir. And after that, I began to feel invincible. Hi there. I moved through the stadium like a ninja, switching sections after each sale so I couldn't be tracked. At one point, I thought security was on my tail, but I was able to lose the guy by ducking into a handicapped bathroom, after which I re-emerged and resumed my operation. I can serve it to you right now. I have it right under my clothes. No, I'm not interested. I sold 16 bowls of delicious chili that night, right under the noses of stadium management. And that meant, from this day forward, Robert had a proven method to sell his chili at Rabobank Arena. This is $32, and the ticket was only $12, so that's $20 profit in one game.
Okay.
So I'll just leave all this here for you then? Bye. Bye now. But making my next plot point happen would take some work. Arranging a luggage mix-up with a man who packed an oversized suit that has his real mother's ashes stored in the pocket. So I reached out to the Craigslist community, seeing if anyone who had their mother's ashes and a large suit would be willing to help me out. And within days, I had a few responses.
I actually have 2 different bags. One are my father's ashes and one are my mother's ashes.
Okay. But unfortunately, when it came time to try on their suits, none of them were big enough to provide the comedic effect I needed for my story. Yeah, this is basically my size. There was one guy named Sal whose suit was really big and good. This is good. But unfortunately, he misunderstood the ad and believed the ashes weren't supposed to be real. The post said, you know, I wanted your real mother's ashes.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be provided for me, like a prop or something.
Oh, okay.
I didn't think they needed actual mother's ashes.
Is your mom dead?
No.
Okay. It was unfortunate that Sal's mom was still alive because the suit was perfect. But after he left, I realized there might still be a way of getting those ashes I needed. So I asked him to meet me at his mom's house the next day to tell him my creative workaround. Technically, ashes can be any part of her as long as it's burned. So I figure if there's stuff from her body that she doesn't use, like, you know, nails or an old tooth or some hair, maybe, if we use that, we should be fine. What do you think?
How much hair?
It just has to be enough to fill a tiny baggie, just a little bit.
Like a trim from the bottom, or?
Yeah, just a little bit.
We'll see, I'll talk to her, see what she, with the nails and the hairs, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
We'll see what she says.
And with that, we headed in to meet Mommy. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So an opportunity came up for me, and pretty much he's gonna be in a talk show and he wants to tell a story. So in order for him to be real, we need a little bit of your hair and some nail clippings, and they're gonna burn them up and turn them into ashes.
Hair for my hair?
Your hair, yeah.
There was a miscommunication. I thought you were dead, so I thought he had your ashes.
They just need a little bit.
My hair is okay. My hair.
You're not gonna go bald.
No, okay, I don't know. Yes, it's a good opportunity for you. It's okay.
With Sal's mom on board, we started collecting some parts of her body that we'd then convert into ashes. Along with the hair trimmings, she also gave us her fingernails, some dead skin from her feet, and contributed some earwax that we added to the bag. We also got permission to snake her drain for any body parts that might have fallen in during a shower. Once I felt I had enough of Sal's mom, we rushed her parts to a local crematory where the remains were put in a big oven and incinerated at temperatures exceeding 1400 degrees Fahrenheit. So with Sal's real mother's ashes now in hand and the wedding just days away, I could now prepare for the luggage mix-up that would be the catalyst of my story. So I transferred the ashes to a small Ziploc baggie and had Sal put them in the inside breast pocket of his suit jacket, which he was instructed to pack in one of 2 identical suitcases I'd purchased earlier that week. Thanks, Sal.
You're welcome.
Okay. It turned out the wedding venue in Agora Hills was only a 45-minute drive from my home in Los Angeles, but for a real luggage mix-up to happen, I would need to fly. So I booked a round-trip ticket to San Francisco that would immediately return to Los Angeles that same morning. And when the big day finally came, it was time to bring my story to life. Every year when the new season of Nathan For You is about to premiere, Comedy Central will schedule promotional appearances for me on late-night talk shows.
Please welcome Nathan Fielder!
Nathan Fielder!
Nathan Fielder!
Nathan Fielder! Everybody!
But as someone who's not naturally charismatic, these appearances have often gone awkwardly for me, as I've struggled to find interesting things to say about myself.
What part of Canada are you from?
Vancouver.
Oh!
Have you been?
Yes! Yes, I like it there.
It's really nice. You see, celebrities normally use talk shows to give fans a window into their exciting lives.
Me and the president are like this. We're best friends.
But unlike Kevin Hart, I haven't met the president. My life just isn't that interesting. When I'm not at work, I mostly just spend time with my cats.
You guys try to take a shower?
Or try to perfect a cooking skill, like boiling eggs. So when I was recently emailed a date to appear on Jimmy Kimmel Live to promote the new season, I was filled with dread. Any potential story I tried to tell just felt boring. When you take them out of the boiling water, you need to put them into ice water immediately, or else the yolks don't, they'll keep cooking, and they'll get too hard. With the pressure on me to gain viewers for the new season, I just couldn't afford to bomb on a talk show again.
You want to come back on another night and we'll try this again?
Sorry. So I began researching talk show appearances and discovered that these seemingly random stories all followed a very similar formula. They were all based around a crazy experience that the celebrity had, and the best ones involved either a funny picture, a twist ending,
and my friend walked by and I grabbed her and I was like, "Oh, this is Elizabeth Taylor!" And she was like, "No, it's not."
or what seemed to be the gold standard of talk show stories, getting pulled over by a cop at the worst possible time.
The police pulled me over.
And this policeman comes up, pulls me over.
And I see the sirens behind me and I get pulled over.
And I got pulled over.
I get pulled over.
The cops pulled us over.
And I got pulled over.
And it was really embarrassing. The cop pulled me over.
I got pulled over.
The cops pulled me over.
And we got pulled over. The lights are flashing and I'm like, "Oh, who are they pulling over?" And I realize it's me.
And I said, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Policeman."
I do know that I was pulled over twice in 1 week.
How do you get pulled over 4 times and not get a ticket?
This was really funny, actually. I got pulled over.
So after watching nearly 6 hours of celebrity interviews and taking extensive notes, I had compiled enough ideas to construct what could very well be the ultimate talk show anecdote. If I was flying to an out-of-town wedding and I accidentally grabbed the wrong suitcase at the airport, I could tell a funny tale about being forced to wear the oversized suit of a stranger. And then, if I discovered a small baggie containing a chalky substance in the pocket, moments before a cop pulled me over for speeding, it would add a heavy dose of suspense. And finally, if the owner of the suit told me that the substance in the baggie was actually his mother's ashes, it would be a twist ending so unexpected that the audience on Jimmy Kimmel Live would shower me with laughter and applause unlike anything I'd experienced before. So I put on the suit and I look like a Dick Tracy villain or something,
Dick Tracy.
Yeah. When I told the story to my employee Solomon, it killed. But there was still one problem. It was entirely made up, and to lie on a talk show would be a massive risk. Brian Williams once did it.
2 of our 4 helicopters were hit by ground fire, including the one I was in.
No kidding.
RPG and AK-47.
And it destroyed his career.
I want to apologize. I said I was traveling in an aircraft that was hit by RPG fire. I made a mistake.
I didn't want to become the next Brian Williams. So that meant, to ensure my story wasn't a lie, I'd have to orchestrate an elaborate series of events to make every single plot point happen to me for real.